Wow, that was an interesting transition. What's up, guys? I'm Sino. That's Chaka. I've already chalked it. You see what I did there? But today we bring to you a different league on a different night. Last time we were casting together, it was Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But today we get to bring you EKU versus KrakenSeas GG for the Model 1 Grands. Chaka, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling super good about today because it's the quarterfinals, it's M1 Grand. I'm excited for this game, especially because more recently we have been covering the EKU games. KrakenSeas is not a team that I'm familiar with watching, but I have done some
Yeah.
research on them. So I'm excited to see how they play tonight, especially because it's their first showing, at least in front of me, where I can actually see how they play.
I am excited to see what they bring to the board, and I know for EKU, we have covered them across literally everything, whether it's Tier 4 or Collegiate, which is basically the same thing, but Collegiate's more restricted to its own teams, and it's very interesting to see how EKU has been trying to rise to the task. It's a very promising roster. They're supposed to be playing under the name Neon Lights, but I was too lazy to change that name in-game, so they're going to go under EKU for tonight. And I'm very interested to see what they bring to this game and to this playoff series, because if I'm not mistaken, they're playing for $400 for this tournament, and they have a lot ahead of them, and I'm very, very confused on the bracket that they're going to be playing against, because there's not too many known names among this bracket. I mean, Syntax, I've heard of. Skyline, obviously I've heard of, but it's a new roster under the Skyline name. Daystar Rising and TBD, we're obviously very familiar with them, but we're not seeing XF5, we're not seeing Pack Runners, we're not seeing the team that you usually expect to see in Tier 4, but maybe that is just because they missed that deadline date, because Tier 4 is just so diverse and so spread out that we usually don't see these types of things being covered. So quite an interesting playoff series, and once we see our winner of the night here, we will crown our first semifinalist, so I am excited to see what we will see tonight.
Yeah, I think the Daystar Rising versus TBD game, obviously, I feel like maybe a little bit more interesting. And I think the second most interesting game is this EKU versus KrakenSeas one, just because you get to see another collegiate team in another tournament that is not collegiate set. And we've seen EKU, especially in this year within a collegiate, do super duper well. Like, yes, they haven't really beaten any of the top collegiate teams like Akron, Cincy, Virginia Tech, just to name a few, but they have been in that consistent top 4 to top 5 spot. And so it's been very interesting to see their elevation from the beginning of this year to now, because they've had some pretty impressive finishes, you know.
I'm excited to see what they bring, and we've seen them on Cafe, we've seen them on Bank, and we've seen them on Chalet, so I'm very excited to see what they bring, and that is kind of the pleasure of being able to cast a team so frequently. You can see what they can bring to the lobby, to their team, and to the overall gameplay that we're seeing tonight, and I'm very excited to see what they will bring. And we'll start off on Chalet, where it will be KrakenSeas pick, and then the EKU pick will be on to Bank, because they've done very well on it in the previous 2 weeks, where they will be defending first, if I'm not mistaken. And Cafe is that decider map, which if we go that full length, I think it will lean towards the favor of EKU, just because we've seen them so many times on the same map.
Yeah, and I think the whole veto, this whole map set that we have in front of us, even just with the first two, kind of favor EKU a little bit. Like, this is something to consider though, because when I was like looking at their statistics in head-to-head on Wikipedia, they do have way more games recorded than KrakenSeas. But even like on Chalet and what is it? Yeah, Cafe, for example, they have like crazy good numbers on these maps compared to KrakenSeas. Like, for example, on Chalet, they have a 9-2 record, so 9 wins, 2 losses. Cafe, they're 5-2. For Kraken, it's the complete opposite. You know, 2-5 on Chalet, 1-2 on a Cafe. Not as many games on Cafe as EKU have, but still, it is a losing record, whereas EKU seem to just be winning on these maps most of the time.
I'm always refreshed to see the boys from EKU play out here. They've picked up one new man. It's Michael instead of Moko, which Moko was my king, but all good things come to an end, and you always will need that substitute to step up to the task here. And with KrakenSeas, the good thing about this Chaka is you and I are very confined to Tier 4 when it comes to the teams, and when we see a newer team, we don't know what to expect until they get into the lobby. with KrakenSeas, they have the opportunity to surprise us and the viewers to show us what they have on the board and what they can bring to this competition, because even though this isn't Tier 1, Tier 2, people are still playing for money. People are still playing to win, and I'm excited to see what either side really bring to the table to be able to win this out here.
Sorry, bans have commenced, and it's gonna be Cream and Capital off of the board. That means that Brava is left up, which is pretty good on Chalet, because you can basically, you hear this point talked to death a whole bunch whenever you hear about Bravo on Chalet, but yeah, you can hack the default cans and have your flanks covered. It's also really good, namely against the Malusi, who's a pretty popular operator on this map specifically, because she's really good at covering your gaps, such as dining call, slowing down even a piano over clear. She can cover like front side as well with the Malusi gadgets too. So bringing a Bravo on the board, getting that utility clear in this lineup is actually super duper important when it comes to Chalet and how you want to do your over clears.
Lomo spawn peeking with the SMG-12 to start it off here. Wouldn't expect nothing less from the man, but as this is going to be a first floor hold, they have to be careful. They need to be able to keep up their bodies on the board here, especially with that shield operator they don't quite know about yet. You need to be able to preserve the bodies, because with the bodies and with the time in your favor, you can force more mistakes out of KrakenSeas once they realize they're going to have to go for the gunfights and not their intel once they waste too much time. But it looks like Neon Lights, or EKU as they are going to be called for today, are just looking to keep that second floor held down very aggressively to get the lay of the land for the first round.
At the moment, they're very content in sitting their position. Some early aggression kind of like slows down the attack, but not really. They're going for this library full focus where they're going to just try and contest into library, but you know, it makes it very difficult to contest into library with the mirror window staring right at you. So they're going to need some front-sided pressure, whether it's a push-up main stairs or even some pressure on like the fluke window. But even then, there's another mirror looking at the fluke window too. So there's a ton of things here for EKU in terms of like taking into consideration what pressure points that they're going to be vulnerable to, and the mirror windows are covering that. But for KrakenSeas, they have nothing to do with these mirror windows.
Now Blitz getting his hands dirty. No one's there to help him out, but the only thing that will help him out is that castle's full blind, so an easy down, but he's given a second chance at life, as he's gonna have to be able to isolate this Jaeger no longer, as Reken will shut him out on that window, but an instant refrag, but still a two-man advantage for KrakenSeas as they've opened up that second floor in the blink of an eye. Sibui just doubling down by taking care of Jacob, and now we find ourselves in a 1v4 situation. The site completely open, verticality all in the favor of KrakenSeas, and it's only a matter of time, and with Sibui closing down with that SMG-12, he'll shut him out in the first round, goes to the attackers.
Yeah, and EKU had the blitz run straight in through library, pressuring immediately onto the library, onto the top mez player, and I guess like you just really have no way to deny that. Like KrakenSeas didn't have anything for the mirror windows. There's really nothing stopping the mute from just like running into library and just taking immediate space. That they do have a player in library cubby, but he's not quick enough to stop the blitz from just running in and taking immediate space onto top mezzanine. And another thing that was really interesting about that round is that KrakenSeas also smoked off Ivy Hall too, so nobody can get aggressive and try and protect the castle as he's being like pressured out. So it's really good isolation tactics from KrakenSeas, not only just for the mezzanine player, but then also cutting off the library box player when he tries to drop off away from the top floor in order to give it up without, you know, with trying to preserve his own body. It's a good opening ground from KrakenSeas and a really good strong take on that top floor.
Really taking their sweet old time to try to oppose the fast attack from KrakenSeas, but that blitz all up in the face of the Jaeger, doubling down by taking care of that Jaeger in the small office as well, just made matter so much worse for EKU. Still lots to be done, and still very early on in this series means there's going to be multiple chances for them to be able to prove themselves. As they now switch out in the venues, they'll play the other mid-floor site, which usually is considered the tertiary site for this map, as they will continue to try to hold upstairs, wait for that to be dissected, and then seek refuge in that main site here. But with no wall deny, and nothing to oppose this ace on the board. Seems like it's only inevitable before KrakenSeas opens up this breach and starts applying that pressure.
I wonder where they place the mute jammers. I mean, to be fair, because the Kaid is banned, there's really not a lot you can do against ranged hard breach, for example. Just because with range hard breach compared to like placing down can openers or thermite charges, you can place them up high on the walls, you can place them in the middle of walls, anything that's like way above the mute jammers. Yeah, what a shot. That's the first kill onto Lomo yet again. He was the opening pick last round, and this round it seems to be a repeat as he's the smoke going down on top floor. That's part of your top floor hold that is no longer in existence. And look at this, KrakenSeas, or EKU rather, are backing up really far back on this top floor.
2 C4s burned, but the thing that'll take care of Nas is a frost map. Now, 90 seconds left on the board here, and a man being immobilized till the 30-second mark is going to be the least of the worries of EKU here, as they'll suffer another casualty. And with a 3v5 and still a man on that verticality, they're going to need a refrag. Jacob rises to the task. The new substitute, or the new pickup for EKU, is going to be able to hold down Solar without falling. The breach is the next problem for these guys to worry about, because once that shield up walks that breach and gets all up in your face, it's going to become a problem here. And that's why Jacob is going to sprint up and try to reclaim all of that real estate lost by his teammates. First Logi Bomb is going to be used, and it looks like they're going to start to line up to open up the breaches here. And Jacob doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon. With no flank watch, he's going to prioritize the aggression here, but with a man sitting close in the corner, an easy kill for Nas. Rican doubles down by taking care of Architect, and now it's just Michael left to fight out within the site here. It's ringing around the rosy behind the table, but no substance, just giving away your position here, and it was only a matter of time. KrakenSeas double down, and now they're putting EKU on the ropes.
Yeah, and again, you know, Lomo's that opening pick. It kind of makes going for that top four clear a whole lot easier. And I mean, because EKU backed up so far back, KrakenSeas take a lot of real estate on top four. It wasn't just like, oh, they had office wall open and you have full office control. No, they pushed somebody in piano to make that retake on top floor a lot harder, because once you get vert as the attack and all of the walls are opened up, it makes sitting inside of dining really hard to do. And I don't even think they got dining wall open because they were still pushing down in dining. Maybe they did. Actually, I don't remember. Either way, what I do know is that like it was another good top floor clear, very well organized from KrakenSeas. And they put themselves in good spots that they could cut off EKU from whenever they did try to eventually retake top floor. It's just very well organized attack so far, and EKU needs to maybe find a way to be a little bit more effective in the early round, because that's kind of like how they're losing the games, is these like early round plays.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
Now, maybe it's just because they're not playing with their ideal 5, because I think it was Michael that's their coach. So maybe having him in is going to just mess up your overall flow of the game, but still, 2 rounds that have been lost in an interesting fashion. It's literally just been a all-out brawl. It's been utility second, and then the gunfire first, as you can obviously tell here. This time it'll actually go into the favor of EKU. We won't see a first casualty, and they'll take care of that glass. That rush plant that looks like they wanted to get on the board is going to be halted before it even starts. Now the Monty is going to have to try and get his way into the site here, wedge out or give out those call-outs with that glass off the board.
Yeah, glass is very integral for a garage push, especially with the way that KrakenSeas were planning to do this take. Like, they're going to do a top floor take with Ram doing vert up above. They were going to try and do a glass plant with the smokes. Yeah, like, they're going to try and have the cover with the smokes. They're going to go for it anyways, but a nitro cell could bring a quick into this. There's no nitro,
C4s on the board.
Oh, my bad.
The sentry has one, but oh my god, the DMR mixed in with the Shmika is enough to rise to the task here. That sentry was a ways away, and they didn't even need him. Now Kinte left by himself on the vert. They know where he is. No case in hand. Absolutely nothing left to do here. It's a big problem. You need to be able to bait out your kills because you have plenty of time to make this work. All the health in the world here. If you can bait out 4 individual gunfights and not allow EKU to stack up on you, this is a very realistic clutch.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Big Boss. I'm gonna be totally honest. This guy has like no control with no case. Like, and they know exactly where he's coming from. Okay, well that was odd. Architect goes down, but like again, he still has like no case. That's in full control of VKU. They know exactly where case is, because it's been dropped right at the breach. And so, you know, Kente, he's going to have a lot of work ahead of him in order to make this clutch work.
A little bit of an yeah, he was looking for it, but it's an interesting play that they decided to go for the rush even though their glass had died. And honestly, it was only a matter of time before he was to get killed. I was a believer, but then I realized, yeah, they knew where the case went down. They completely massacred KrakenSeas, and that was the reason they lost the round very easily here. But it feels like KrakenSeas really just testing out the waters with what they can and can't get away with against EKU. Since they've built up that 2-round advantage, they had that buffer, and now if they go back to doing the same thing they were doing in the first couple of rounds, it should be able to be very easy to find success here. But that's a big if and a big but if EKU aren't going to be the ones to step up to the task.
Yeah, and it's really nice as well for EKU that even though they've been kind of like shut down in the early round, Lomo still hasn't been discouraged from trying to get opening picks. That's kind of what started that snowball effect as well for EKU. The fact that they got the kill into the glass early, it kind of ruins that whole execute, especially with who else was like upstairs as well trying to refrag Lomo. It kind of like gave away exactly what KrakenSeas were trying to do, and EKU were more than prepped and ready to deal with it. They also had good positions in order to like really stop the plant. So you still had like your bookcase player, you still have snowmobile control. Technically, there's really no vert control gathered as well from KrakenSeas. You also have blue control. There's really a lot of control that you have, and the push was really well telegraphed from KrakenSeas too. So EKU were more than prepared to deal with that push, and it's really nice to see again that they're not discouraged from trying early round plays.
Liking what I'm seeing so far here. It looks like aggression is their main idea on how to oppose their opposing team, because this isn't their home turf, so you have to respect that they're doing anything they can to be able to catch out KrakenSeas on the back heel. And it worked last round, but again, it was a 1 out of 3 chance of it working because they've tried the aggression 3 rounds prior, and with a 33% of success, it's a problem because with players like this, with aggression like this, you'll find players in the middle of the site here. And Jacob doesn't even know this. He thinks they're coming in from Trophy. Architect coming down to help. They're more fixated on the Blackbeard, but Nas making his presence known, going big, finding a kill within the first 40 seconds. And with Scar finding the position of this Solar player, he's now essentially drove a wedge in between the defenders, accessing Solar and that site. Meaning if Thermite can find any hard area on this side, he can put that plant down. That's exactly what he's going to do. There's no souls on the board. There's nothing to do, and that plant's going to go down whether the defenders like it or not. The cross is being held down on the long window. West main is locked down. B chassis is completely in the possession of the attackers. Chaka, this is disastrous. EKU need to be able to fight out almost every single time, swing anything that moves to be able to try to get in the site and try to get their hands on this case. Now, with Nas falling first, it's going to be a step in the right direction, but with this clock continuously running out, it is a big, big problem. You know where each and every player is. All of the defenders are located, and they're all on the air jabs as well, but somehow, Sibui finds Sin, but the down is going to take care of Riken. They're getting closer and closer to that case, but still that double hold being crossed is just going to become a problem. Kinte goes one, will down the second, and Sibui finds that last. KrakenSeas finding any opportunities, opening up that gap, and EKU are just left lost without any access.
Yeah, and for EKU, they had some info on site, but it was only just through the BPs. Like you highlighted, there was no Solus. They also had really, besides the BPs, really no info on site for where the Thermite could be planting. The only way that KrakenSeas kind of lose that round, in my head, when the round was actually unfolding the way that it was through Vert. But they didn't totally have Vert prepped for that specific plant spot. They only really had it prepped where the half wall was, right behind where the default plant usually is, which is right behind the bomb chassis and dining room, next to the, or behind the dining table rather, in front of the main wall. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just a really good gap spot early on into the round. That's a common gap spot that you see from a lot of different teams. To just walk into dining, isolate the only player on site, and it just gives you full site control. And if you can find an off plant spot where there's no information, no vert prepped, you can pretty much plant for free, even though vert is a win condition for that site.
I'm just really concerned on how we're finding such a large gap that all 5 players can funnel in through Trophy and 45 undetected and put that plant down, get a kill, and then EKU know they're in the site. This is an issue. We're talking about all-out aggression. Yes, it's a step in the right direction to be able to catch your opponents off guard, but it doesn't work when there is literally nothing on the site. you just had Jacob just completely lost. Three-way hold
Yeah.
from Trophy. Even if he were to find a kill there onto that shield op, there's 2 more players waiting to get their opportunity to find that refrag. So large margin being built up against EKU. They either need to call a timeout or try their best to be able to close out that gap. And looks like they're going to be a little bit more conservative, but still get very aggressive when that opportunity presents.
And you see in response to that, EKU been at the Bravo, because I'm assuming that's why, you know, that gap was found in 45, because again, they had a Malusi in that round to cover their gaps. But if you have a Bravo on the board, then it makes playing operators such as Fenrir, Malusi, all of these trap ops pretty obsolete. So they ban her out off rip, but I mean, their gaps still aren't really covered. I mean, Monty walking up main stairs, even though Ella's staring right at him, and she turns her back around, and they just fold completely. EKU are crumbling at the moment.
You could just blame the non-home turf, but still the crumbling at the turn of every gap being found. If there's no gap to hit, KrakenSeas make one, and they've consistently done it, and they've just done it beautifully. Every single round that they've won, they win their ones and they use their utility accordingly. One false rush is what stops them from having a perfect record. Other than that, they're on track to have a 5-1 split, and EKU are just left grasping at straws as they can't find anything.
Yeah, that last round was something that we usually aren't very used to seeing from EKU, just very solo in terms of holds. Like, I have no idea. The only thing they have to defend against a fireplace lurk is the player in bar site who's watching the head holes. There's like no dining player, no traps as well from main stairs. It seems like that was already cleared from KrakenSeas. It's just like, again, KrakenSeas are able to find like really big gaps in these EKU defenses, and they're just walking at people who are isolated. And I'm gonna be totally honest, I found it funny that the Ella on Mez like turned her back to the Monty when the library door smoked. That makes it's just a little bit shameful, to be honest. But you know, KrakenSeas are totally making EKU pay for some of these gaps that they're finding.
A little bit of an interesting play, yeah. I'm really wondering how that Monty has been able to isolate multiple times. It hasn't always been the Monty, but it's always been in the same identity. The first round you found Blitz isolating and taking care of Sin very fast, and that crumbled all of library pressure, and eventually the verticality toppled. And then we saw all of EKU die in about 30 seconds of that initial death. There are many issues that we're seeing, and KrakenSeas are now approaching their near perfect attacking record. All they have to do is just win the site that they haven't been able to just yet due to a botched rush. Doesn't look like they're going to be going for the same thing. Instead, diversifying the breaches they're going to open and the pressure that they'll have on the site here. But EKU staying very true to their very aggressive identity, trying to take out as much real estate upstairs as they can.
Yeah, and I think they've been trying to at least not let KrakenSeas be put in a position where they're going to set themselves up for an attack. So they've been trying to get aggressive out on a roam. But again, it's another player that's caught isolated. So when they have tried to go for roams, it's been very solo. I noticed that even when Lomo got his only kill in the game, it was that opening pick in round number 3. And he was by himself with no trade potential. And he's like running back to site. This time around, they get no opening pick playing solo and bar, and they lose their only other library play. But they still do have a flank maybe from Sin, who, for the most part, has gone unnoticed.
Jeez, Chaka, this might be the fastest map we've ever casted. We're not even 20 minutes into the map, and we're getting closer to the match point. Finally, Tachanka's firing back, but easily refragged. You can't even call that a refrag because this teammate is downed. He can easily be picked up, but maybe not for long because Sin is on that flank. Will find the kill of his late teammate, but still a 1v3 with no access to the site. Your position completely given up, and on a Logibomb as well. All of the cases that could be worst case scenario have presented to Sin, and now he's going to have to be able to overcome a death mark on top of all of that. You can't touch the site if you don't want to be blasted from 6 different angles here. And that bomb, yet again, that plant is going to go down, whether you like it or not, but somehow you've been able to isolate that Deimos. That death mark goes both ways. You'll be able to isolate the first, but on that full blind, yet again, it is just a matter of time. You are now the attacker. And in a 1v2 situation, you need to be able to isolate these two in a timely manner and then counter defuse on top of all of that. So many things to do, not enough time to do it. And with the intel on you, a player parked outside, you'll be able to find that third, but still a large order on top of that, because still Thermite has the utility to be able to hide behind. He has the drone, and if it's 4 more seconds left without you getting closer to that case, it'll just be that round that KrakenSeas can call theirs, and that's exactly what they'll do.
Yeah, and it's a 5-1 half as well for
Jeez.
KrakenSeas. Again, like, it's not even just like gap spotting at this point. They've been very good at like teaming up with each other to isolate players from EKU. That bar player realistically had no help despite that being a full roam from EKU, not only surrounding the first floor around the bar area, but they had 2 library players. One was on library stairs, and nobody was helping the bar player. He's not only getting Deimos tracked, but he's getting like pitched from like 2 different angles playing the bar stock position. And that's not, again, the first time that we've seen EKU play super solo in that defensive half and then just get punished for it. You know, the gap spotting plays into that effect too, where we saw the dining flank from 45 killed the only Melusi player in sight, and it wasn't just that dining pressure that we saw, but it was also trophy pressure. It's a lot of rounds that you can highlight from KrakenSeas where they just took full advantage of EKU playing super isolated and even just leaving some gaps up, and they perfectly abused that Bravo ban too, even when EKU in a number of rounds brought Melusi to cover their gap. So it was a good attacking half from KrakenSeas, take nothing away from it, and they start off Chalet with a very good advantage going into their defenses.
Now, call me crazy, I don't know if KrakenSeas have a coach, but we're not even going to focus on that. If Michael is your guys' coach, why not call a timeout on the half? When you realize there's a snowball effect being built up against you, call it reset and try to approach the next half with your heads held up high here, because it looks like KrakenSeas picked into this map knowing they can dominate. It hasn't been a show of force from one individual player because everybody is carrying their weight. This leaderboard is very evenly distributed, except for, you know, Kinte just going absolutely nuclear every single round with the double kills, but still, they've all equally been finding the opportunity. They've been hitting the gaps as a team, not just individual gap spotters and hitters. So EKU need to be able to address this to dissect it. Maybe not for Chalet, but maybe to try to close down the sails on Chalet by getting a couple of rounds. And if you lose it eventually, the game's not over. The series isn't over. You still have your own map to be played, but you guys need to be able to slow things down before it gets out of hand, and by the time you go onto your own map, it's just going to be disastrous.
Target located. First floor.
1 second.
It was already in a gunfight? I mean, first blood this time going in the favor of EKU. Finally, we've seen something go into their favor, and with this continuing to break down for them, they have the ability to just reset, take their sweet old time here, and with a 1-body advantage, they get instantly refragged out. A revenge kill. Oh man, what we thought could have been the start of something is going to be instantly dissected, and it'll be evened out while Kraken continue to try to keep Solar locked down.
It's good that the Solus at least was dealt with, so that kind of like gets rid of a win condition here for EKU. And even though they lose the Gridlock early, I mean, that could be good for denying any flanks. You don't really see KrakenSeas getting like set up for that. And if you're going for a solar focus take as your EKU, you should be anyways pretty much prepared to deal with any type of flank down below. That's a really good kill as well from Architect, whose name we haven't really said that much throughout this whole entire game. And they do kind of get this solar control a little bit, but KrakenSeas, they have hands and they're fighting back.
Every single kill that we've seen from EKU has been responded and met with a revenge kill within the next 10 seconds. And Architect still on the board means anything can happen here, because he's usually that player we talk about so often. And as you can see, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to bait out the players, and he knows how to isolate his ones here. He usually breaks 20 on other teams in tier 4 and sometimes even in tier 3, so we know he has the capacity to be able to do this, but can his team play alongside him to be able to help him get to that point? Looks like the answer will be yes. Lomo takes care of Riken, but in the meantime, Michael will go down here. Not quite finished, but still will be a temporary 1v1 until they will get Michael up, and now they're back up to full strength here, but with 20 seconds left and the mute so close to be able to deny the breach, they're really trying to keep their hands on deck, trying to help him out here, but that plant will be denied. Blackbeard isolated, but somehow, in some way, without the assistance of that Deimos, Lomo will rise to the task and close that deficit a little bit shorter.
And for Architect specifically, I kind of said it. We haven't really had to say his name that much. When I think of EKU, especially when I've been watching, when we've been casting them more recently, whether it be in Collegiate, whether it was at Concord, whether I watched them at the Butler Land, Architect was quite literally that guy, that space maker, especially on the attack, is where he usually turns up. And if you give him an ACOG on defense with the Rooney or whatever, then he can usually find some really good impact. So, I mean, now we see him on the attack, especially. He's able to do a lot in that round. Not only does he kill like the bathroom player, creating a ton of space in Solarium, but then he kills the he expects the flank down below, going in through 45 into dining, and he's able to kill them as well. Just using the Deimos to full effect in that round and getting a huge 3K in order to get EKU their second round.
I just realized who isn't playing today.
Who?
You remember that guy you didn't like because his name wasn't spelled right? Borger, the one and only.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, I hope the one who spelled his name wrong loses. That was of course a joke.
That was I didn't bring it up. You did.
You just bring it up.
I said the one you didn't. Yeah, but I didn't say you wished their team lost. But it's okay. The boys at EKU, they know we love them. And that's why I want to see this deficit closed out here, because KrakenSeas are only one round shy of the match point, and with EKU starting on the preferred side of Chalet, I would have expected a very evened out 4-2 split, even if it wasn't in the favor of KrakenSeas. I didn't expect a large margin of 5-1 to be built up against them, but with that round they previously just got, they have temporarily halted the sales of KrakenSeas, but a little bit of trolling on the drone shoots. Looks like each player knows where the other is. But now it's just a matter of who's going to come and get this Azami.
It's very interesting. You don't really see a take that's originating in from like kitchen all that often. Usually teams like to just go from piano over, starting from second floor. But instead they're just kind of getting this kitchen control. It makes it a lot easier to contest onto mezzanine if you were to go through the front door, but they're not doing that. Blackbeard is very far up, and most alarmingly, by themselves. So I hope he's just here to expand pressure, and he's not going to try and take a gunfight here, because that could spell early doom for EKU if Lomo were to go down on that Blackbeard early.
Nas really fighting out on this. Blackbeard has those 2 impacts, is going to save them, at least we
said
thought. Gonna hop up onto the snowmobile window, and now Lomo losing more than half of his HP. He's gonna have to be careful here, because with 90 seconds left, there's so much utility and so many different things that can happen for you to be able to lose that remaining HP. Azami hears Sin. Sin doesn't react, gets taken care of, and with the time continuously running out here, you guys are losing your ability and your grasp on the site here. A big 2 kills from Azami allows her to force that case loose, isolate this Blackbeard. Even if he isn't in the building, he's now gonna have to be careful, because everyone else is fixated on their individual idea. Lomo now being able to isolate his gunfight, and Jacob forcing his way into 45 might be able to find an opportunity here, but Library needs to fall very soon. Jacob can't find any gain, and this is starting to all fall apart one by one, as that C4 below the feet of Lomo is going to make it even worse. Scar doubling down and finding his second of the round, and it's just Michael left outside with below a minute left on the clock, and forced to isolate his ones, pick up that case, and kill 4 KrakenSeas players, but can't even do that. A Nas triple ends out the round, and EKU are left grasping for anything they can find, and a long-awaited timeout will be called.
I'm surprised this timeout wasn't called any sooner as well from EKU, because I feel like it could have been called way sooner, especially once we got into the meat of their defensive half. We've seen them time and time again kind of be caught out in this trap of just playing super isolated. Sin dies outside, not because he was isolated, but because he got caught out. And an Architect tried to swing off of his contact, but was super late to do so, giving an easy one to Naz yet again, who's been super consistent inside of this game. Everybody from KrakenSeas is showing up compared to EKU, where we only have 1 player on the top of the leaderboard with over 5 kills, and he only has 6 compared to his 7 deaths. Don't say anything, Cena. But yeah, like, really good game so far as well from KrakenSeas, who look to take away a map from EKU, who have not lost a map all tournament in M1 Grands.
I wasn't going to say anything. What do you think I was going to say?
You know.
I don't. I didn't say anything. I am much more mature than that. Come on. I don't say that.
Nah. Disagree.
You disagree, eh? It's okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
Given the next opportunity, I will say it, just because you said that.
Well,
Now, KrakenSeas hopping on the site that EKU just couldn't defend even if they wanted to. Constant gaps being hit, and I hope to see that change with KrakenSeas putting a pin in it and ending their own map, taking us to our second, but kind of not really. I kind of am rooting for EKU to bring this back because I don't like short maps. I like BO3s to go the full mile and be a little bit more exciting than this. And right now, EKU, off that timeout, it's usually the teams that hop off of a timeout are the next to win the round. But hopefully, they're able to stop KrakenSeas as they're really struggling to take care of these players.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
Yeah, and it's a surprising map win, at least for me, because we've seen EKU before on Chalet. They super duper strong. Their record of the year speaks for itself. 9-2 wins, or 9 wins, 2 losses. And even then, like in M1 Grands, if we're not going to talk about Bank, Chalet, or Cafe and the records that EKU have on it, they have not dropped a single map. This could potentially be the first game in which they drop it, and against KrakenSeas, who this season has already dropped 2. So, or in the main season they dropped 2. You know, so, but EKU, they start the round off really well. That's already the Fenrir did. They bring out the Brava 2, abusing it against these traps.
Now, Architect giving his team that first kill, able to give them the hope and passion they need to be able to advance on towards that site, taking care of that Fenrir. Although he can't put down any more F-Knots after he dies, he can still repurpose them. So it's a very crucial pick here for EKU. The question is, can they hold on to that lead? Constantly we're seeing them be refragged or avenged very early on into the round here. And with this hold upstairs on offices, they need to be able to clear this out without suffering any casualties. Ella not having any more impacts left allows Architect to open up this breach fully, but that would mean sacrificing that dining breach below. Oh, wow, on his head.
Wow, he just kind of like took that too. He did not react. He didn't try and like rappel up or sprint or do anything else or shoot it.
He just kind of accepted his fate.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Anyways, that's the Nomad down on the master window cutoff. And that's a lot of utility off of the board. But I mean, hands are being thrown. EKU find one before KrakenSeas trade one back. They're still on this top floor though. So there's still a lot of real estate that KrakenSeas has against this attack.
And I think Scar ran out, and his teammate ran out right behind him to be able to get the refrag onto Lomo, so they'll pay the price for that. And with the F-Nut on K9, they can't walk in here without sacrificing themselves. The Selmas are no longer... Where were the Selmas used? 2 of them were used on the main breach, and I'm pretty sure that third one was used to pinch anyone out of offices, but still... Sibwe can play until his demise here and still would waste so much crucial time for EKU because with the agitating swing, with the assistance even of the Clash, a full attack upstairs with all of these defenders makes it a problem because you can't access anything. Sibwe taking care of Jacob, looking for that double, will shred off all of Architect's HP, and Nas will rise to the task to finish him off, and now it's just a Clash left by her lonesome, able to place down that shield. That Grismon hits both of them, and a melee to the back heel somehow takes care of her. An interesting round end, and that's EKU to close out that deficit to 3.
Did you see the shield? It looked like it disappeared, or he looked like he quickly turned around.
It got hit. It got hit by the Grismon while he was trying to place it down.
Oh, that's so odd. It looked like it disappeared when he got like concussed by the Grismon. That looked really weird. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's not necessarily the most heartbreaking way to lose a round because for KrakenSeas, you still have 3 more chances in order to win. And the thing is that, you know, KrakenSeas, they still have the Clash up too, along with Trap Ops as well. So like they have a ton of tools at their disposal. The only thing that kind of trips me up, and it's a targeted ban towards, I'm assuming, Architect, because he's been a nightmare to deal with on that Deimos, is the fact that they kind of left the Brava up, which, to be fair, hasn't really been that effective when EKU has played it, especially when Fenrir has been brought out, because every time, like, the Brava drone was every time they tried to use the Brava drone, I believe it got shot, so we'll see. But, like, I mean, that kind of means that traps are going to be considerably weaker for the rest of these defenses because the Brava is still left up compared to just like not banning Deimos.
Huh. This has been an interesting game. From EKU losing the easiest rounds to seeing Clash fall in the most interesting way I think I've ever seen. It's a round to remember, and now they have a lot to be done. And the question is, can they do this in a timely fashion where you guys close this gap out without suffering too many round losses? If you guys lose one round, you're on to bank with no second chances, and 3 rounds is a dangerous lead, yes, but it is still very easy to close out because you're given 3 different chances to close this game out. Now, Lomo on the shield has been doing numbers for his team. Still negative, but still able to help them out. Architect alongside him as well. Isn't able to close out that man spawn peeking, but by giving away the initial position, they're able to get a grasp on what's going on and who's doing what to be able to close them out earlier on.
I wonder if for KrakenSeas, if they're doing the library hold, the aggressive library hold with presence around the bar area plus dining, so that if somebody walks on your bar guy, you can protect them from dining, but they don't have head holes for this. I think they're just putting somebody in dining so that they can have this control, so that when the Solus eventually rotates below, you at least have the control like confirmed for yourself, and that way it's like, you know, the Solus will be quite effective. That's the only reason why I can think of the dining room player being here.
With this time running out, I think this is the longest we've seen both teams have a full man count this late.
Yeah.
Now, Sibley taking damage, but nothing to put him in a critical position. Maybe he's going to have to be careful with when he swings, but still very happy to be able to see both teams challenge each other as they get closer and closer to this site here. And as I say that, the Caster's Curse hits right below the 90-second mark. Architect opens it up by taking care of Rican, and now being able to use that second Logi Bomb to be able to dissect any player who sits close. But for those who are protected by the jammers, nothing is going to happen as of now. But they still look to inch closer and closer towards this site, as Blackbeard can just use his dash ability and open up this site without needing a hard breacher.
Yeah, and I think at the moment KrakenSeas, yeah, I think they're just trying to get more information about where this push is coming from, and so that's why the flank from Castle happened, to see if you can get lucky getting a peck, but also just to see where the main push is coming from. That jump out confirmed that there was a master bedroom, master window cutoff, and killing them means that there is no longer a cutoff, so that if you were to retake from master, you can safely do that. They're also trying to clear down below, recognizing this win condition for KrakenSeas, but EKU, they fight back on top floor in numbers.
Yeah, they'll starve out almost all of the bodies, but a refrag out from Kinsey onto that Blackbeard is going to take away from so much real estate established onto Piano, and now it's going to be one body and one man that holds the case to try to get it down, but they've taken care of that win con, and now they just need to put this plant down. Jaeger only has his weapon to be able to take care of these 2 players, and as you're temporarily in a 1v1, you haven't closed that distance in enough amount of time to be able to do anything with it, and with the positioning of Jacob, almost loses that gunfight, but rises to the task, and EKU might be able to do it.
Yeah, EKU, they did a very good job of what was it, like, well, dealing with a lot of the extra win conditions that KrakenSeas have like set for themselves. Not only just the flank coming up from mezzanine, just looking for info, they also dealt with the Solus down below too. And then once they recognized kind of like how good they had it in terms of numbers, they just fully powered onto site and through Piano as well. And yeah, it's just a very good round from EKU. Puts them 2 away from tying it up potentially from KrakenSeas and dragging us into OT. And it'll be very interesting to see if EKU can do that, because they have used their timeout when KrakenSeas did get onto match point. But there's probably still a chance, considering that, you know, Chalet does slightly favor the attackers nowadays.
If they go to overtime, should we hit him with a Ace and Dez moment?
No.
Okay. Man.
Sorry.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Man, why you gotta be? Why you gotta destroy?
No, because I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I feel like every time Ace is like, "Oh, we're going into overtime," I feel like a part of him just like slowly like withers away and dies.
Drop the diffuser.
I'll be totally honest with you. I know it's like their whole brand too. But yes, bro. I don't know what it is. I feel like
out of.
I just feel like he's withering away every time he has to say.
That is a crazy statement. That is a crazy statement. But it's okay.
I don't know.
It's great. It's okay. But we'll come up with our own thing to say. But this is what we wanted to see out of EKU, because even if they lose this part of the game, they've still stopped the passion in the destruction of the KrakenSeas attack. And now being able to do so, you guys really take your time to be able to stop them in their tracks, even if you aren't to establish anything. And Jacob Jacob's mouse is broken. I don't know what he's doing. But as they look to completely dissect Library, they know there's a Jaeger here. No Capitao on the board because he is banned. So they're going to be relying on not so traditional methods to take him out. Now all of his health taken care of by a Flores drone. Still enough to be able to fight it out here, but he's more focused on the streak than he is on the man on the other side of the window. No more ADSs to hide behind. The stun connects, but it doesn't even matter because he's going to go down and will be finished off by that Rotero charge, meaning nobody who's assisting him from top Library will be able to res him for the remainder of the round. Another kill as it'll rain out. Safely goes down. Jacob doubles down, taking care of Riken, and the plant is going to go down here. The Echo, the Yokais are no longer in his hands, and Nas needs to be able to isolate, but Scar just gets to walk through and shoot him in the face, but all of EKU is ready to be able to play that refrag, and both kills rain on in instantly. One round now shy away from that overtime.
Yeah, and for EKU, they also just had players in the right position as well to cut off any retreat down Ivy stairs. I think it was Jacob on the glass in Mudroom who got that control early, took advantage of that gap, and completely cut off anybody who was just trying to retreat down Ivy stairs too. So it wasn't just like a good utility round from EKU. They also had like some decent gap spots as well from Mudroom, and then they just jumped into Library window as well once the Library corner was cleared, and they got an easy plant down as well. We finally see a timeout from KrakenSeas. This is a decent time to take their timeout, considering it's the last opportunity to close out Chalet for them, and they've let EKU slowly inch their way back into this map.
Quite an interesting game because we thought KrakenSeas were going to take this by a landslide, and EKU have done the impossible. They've brought it back from 5-1. 4 consecutive rounds, met with an interesting round win, but still they're able to do what they can, and with KrakenSeas leaderboard being more evened out, it means they can really rely on each other to win their ones, but does it really matter when you're losing each and every round that you can end out in regulation? EKU is doing a great job of catching out this pacing in their tracks, and by the time they get to bank, it's going to be right back up to level. Whatever happens by this round, all of that advantage is going to be completely dissected.
And the thing to remember as well for KrakenSeas is the fact that, EKU also had a timeout as well in that timeout. So they could have talked with their coach in order to figure out whatever it is they wanted to do better on dining in kitchen. I think because the last time they attacked the site, it was like, well, no, that was the Clash round, wasn't it? Yeah, so they still won it, but like they still had like issues in the mid round, like dealing with the Fenrir on food balcony, not really having a way into office or even a way inside of dining either. So they had to like fully clear top 4, and it came down to a really scrappy 1v1 where Guzmatman saved the attacker's life, which is odd to say. So there's a ton of things to fix there for EKU just to make the attack cleaner. And I like how in this round, instead of just depending on the Ace to do a bunch of hard breach against mute jammers, they bring the Habana too, which will make hard breaching a lot easier.
A large order ahead of EKU here, or a tall order actually. They need to be able to dissect all of the pressure mounted from KrakenSeas in the previous rounds. They've been able to do so. But still, Choco, we were talking about how they're given 3 separate chances to mess up until they really go into OT and start to worry here, because KrakenSeas have maintained the lead regardless of how many rounds they've lost in the last couple of rounds here. Now, EKU, they'll have Architect on the spear, and for those of you who know, this man with an ACOG and an R4C in his hands can make miracles happen, but they need a first kill, and they need it now, as they haven't been able to open up the breaches above, clear out any roamers, and that clock is starting to run out here, just below 90 seconds, and now finally the first conflict is going to rise, and EKU are going to come out on top by taking care of one of the win cons so far.
Yeah, that smash down over by the bar area, so he can't really, I guess in that case, that's kind of like your basement flank done and dealt with, because the bar player usually rotates or tries to rotate up Ivy. They're very mobile and basement as well. So it takes away a lot of mobility on this defense here from KrakenSeas. It's not to say somebody can't drop off from dining and play for a basement flank, but it's going to be very hard to do so without that control on bar side. So yeah, really nice early kill for EKU, but time has gotten a little bit low, scarily low too, and they're just now hard breaching.
Oh, to make matters worse, Chuck, the C4 goes loose and Scar doubles
No.
down by taking care of the late teammate. Goes down to his own smoke grenade from his teammate, who will be forced out for a refrag. Architect is breach charging 45. Evened out to a 2v2. Rican just hitting one bullet and just getting out of there because he knows by being able to get 3 bodies back on the board within 20 seconds, you've completely changed the game. And doubling down as you'll take care of Jacob, they've completely turned the round around, and now they're able to take care of anything. All they have to do is wait out the time. He's in the red time. Sid needs to be able to swing anything that moves, but with the two-way cross, KrakenSeas have dissected the comeback before it gets to overtime, and they'll win out on their own map.
Yeah, that just took about almost going into OT for KrakenSeas in order to take their own map pick. That is the first map loss in M1 Grands for EKU. In an otherwise flawless season, they now face elimination from M1 Grands playoff now that they're going into their own map pick of Bank next. So that'll be very interesting to see. Usually in best of threes anyways, you expect the team who picked the map, especially once you get into like quarters and semis, or at least past round 1 and 2, to like take their own map pick. But it was also just like the way that KrakenSeas started off the map, and also the way that they ended it. They were solid from start to finish, and it's something to look forward to for Bank.
A beautiful show of force from KrakenSeas. They gave themselves that buffer to make whatever mistake they could, and that's exactly what happened. 5-1 split, made 4 mistakes, and they still managed to win it in regulation without even having to touch OT. Beautifully coming off of that timeout, but we'll bring to you guys Bank in less than 5 minutes after a swift break. So fill up your water, make sure you grab a drink, and leave a follow if you've been enjoying so far, and we will be back soon with our next game. Even in the ad break, we bring it to you as soon as possible because we care about the action that we bring to you guys. KrakenSeas winning their first map in regulation, the very last round of regulation against EKU, and now EKU will head on to Bank. Shock, any thoughts?
I'm hoping it's going to be as close as it was on Chalet towards the end, and not when like EKU decided to wake up when they were 6-2 down. Because I'm gonna be totally honest, the beginning of that map from EKU on their defensive half of Chalet was pretty disappointing to watch. But I think KrakenSeas made like some really good attacking plays. They were able to isolate roamers by themselves usually most of the time. They were excellent at gap spotting, at abusing the Brava, for example, in most of the rounds where Lucy was played from EKU. And on Bank, like Brava's pretty good on there too. So I wonder if you're EKU, are you going to go for a double heart breach ban? Are you going to go for a Brava ban? Are you going to go for a cheese centered ban? Because Bank is a map that also favors cheese too. So it'll be a lot of decisions to think about once we go into Bank.
You know, I love when you say that word, cheese. It's just so funny to me. I don't know why. I just instantly think of cheese boss, and I don't know. It always
Cheese
the funniest. It's just the funniest word to me. I don't know why. But I mean, this map is going to be demanding, and it's going to really test EKU, because if they fall here, there's no second chances. There's no lower bracket. You guys are gone, and you are out of the first. To be able to show us what you have on the board. You guys suffered not a catastrophic first map because you were able to reel it back in, but you guys suffered a map loss regardless of what happened, and this is the opportunity to reel it back in. We know they like to get aggressive. This is one of their maps that we've seen them play on before, and they usually don't drop it. So I would be quite surprised if this is one of those maps that is a big upset and KrakenSeas just power through and take it on home.
Sorry, EKU, they are starting off on the attack, so we'll see what they do on defense in terms of bans. Sorry for KrakenSeas, though. It looks like they are not going for a double hard breach ban. I got fooled just from the initial ace ban that leaves Habana up. Yeah, so Brava's banned here. And to be fair, EKU did bring her out in most of their attacking rounds. But I will say this, I didn't really see anything from Brava that was like really threatening from EKU, if I'm being totally honest. It was just like, I felt like at the end of the day, like Architect kind of like turned up along with like other individuals as well from EKU. I didn't really see anything from the Brava Jones that made it like that made her want for KrakenSeas to ban her. I don't know why that took so long to come out, to be honest. That was really weird.
Because you didn't say we were going to overtime, Cino.
Oh my god. Whatever, man.
I'm sorry. A little bit of an interesting site take. I mean, not really interesting, but they're going to go to the tertiary site first, which, quite interesting. Maybe they want to catch EKU on the offhand, but no ram being brought starts to raise some questions. I mean, verticality is very crucial on this site, but you also need to be able to just kill whoever stands in between you and the site. And with the can openers in the hands of Auntie, the hatch maybe will be good enough here, but I am very concerned if they suffer the first pick, what is going to happen to KrakenSeas. Now EKU, guess who's on the spear, Chaka? The one man himself, and I'm surprised we didn't see Border on the map pool, because I don't think it's a map that EKU are too strong on, but Architect heats up on Border. I think that 2 out of 2 times we've watched him play it.
Yeah, and especially when we've seen him on Ash ACOG too, he's also really good at finding openings. Yeah, so he's kind of like crazy whenever he gets let off the leash on lets off the leash on Ash. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, like okay. So it seems like this is a top 4 roam, but not really. They only have the Scopos up here. I mean, you can always rotate back to site with Scopos. That's kind of like the charm with the robots. So, you know, Nas can rotate back to site if he feels enough pressure from this top 4 take. Well, okay.
Never even saw it coming. That is why Architect is just such an effective spear, man. He has his drone set up. He's not somebody that runs in and guns blindless. Oh, you know, sometimes he does, but he's just one of those players that is crucial to have on your team because of how effective he is on that spear. We didn't see too much of it on Chalet in the beginning because they were being starved out on the defensive. And they started on the defensive, and that is why EKU are attacking right here and right now. They might have not chosen this side, but still, they're going to be very effective on the spear entry. Now, Jacob Lurking will take care of all of ATMs and eventually Tellers as he approaches that extension all the way out into Archives. And Architect has opened up all of stock as well, as there's no other roamers to worry about.
Yeah, the only thing here is the fact that they don't really have like a ton of ways to make vert above archives and tellers,
Yeah.
and that'll like be able to like free up for a hatch drop in open area, because obviously if you get archives and tellers control, you can pressure the post who's playing in that who was playing in the desk position.
Man.
But you do have hatch control, so I mean he just dies anyways. And it seems like you could just even just like force the Monty dropping down the hatch, even though the smokes are here. The Monty just has full site control. That's crazy, by the way. It's a crazy shot.
This is just such a pitch perfect attack here. Sin almost falling to the Toxic Bay, but he's still in critical condition. His body's still up. Full powered EKU allows them to continue to keep their foot on the gas and try to put that plant down. Scar knows he needs to isolate. Finally opens up the feed for his team. Still, that plant is going to go down whether he likes it or not, and Kinte is going to be fighting from his side out in lobby. Architect doubling down, taking care of Scar, and Jacob shuts out Kinte. What a round! The spear entry himself finds the second last, the first, and the mid kill. Active in all parts of the map, in all parts of the round, and still is going to keep his team in this game.
And it was a really nice shot as well into the Scopos by Banana in order to really open up that round for EKU. Architect, as we know him, really good entry player for EKU, not only just outside of Collegiate, but also within Collegiate. He's probably one of the more terrifying entry players that Collegiate has, if we're not counting anybody like on Akron or Cincy, for example, but he's
Coastal
still like
Work, my
completely
goat.
up there. Yeah, like he's crazy good. But anyways, like for Architect, it was a good 3K in a round. It completely opens up top floor for them, allows them to fully make vert above open area as well, kind of forcing away the defenders. And also like it rotates the post too, like under that janitor hatch. He doesn't feel like too comfortable sitting below vert anymore. He's trying to like play archives and tellers, and he just rotates below janitor into and trying to go to into stock or into stock in order to archives into archives, and tries to see if he can find like info with the post scanner down below. So yeah, it's a really good attacking round from EKU, a better start to what they had compared to what they had in Chalet.
I don't even know where to start, because that was such a different round of what we've seen on the first round of Chalet. And luckily for Architect, they've been able to switch things up. And if they can continue down this path, they are able to take their sweet old time to get themselves that lead that is so needed to be able to go onto Cafe with a positive mindset. They're taking their sweet time. They're able to break into that building, and having Architect on that spear works in their favor, but no longer on the Ash is going to be interesting to see how they'll dissect it, but it's going to be needed considering there are 3 roamers now, Chuck.
Yeah, bringing the Deimos here instead of the Ash is pretty good for roam clearing, especially for basement site, when really you just want to be focused on roam clearing, and they're sending it through the printer window too. Like, they're already in here.
They look to break in to Printer. First man gets shut out in open area and a refrag, but doesn't really matter. The team's double down here, but Sin and Michael will rise up to the task. The coach goes big as he'll even it out here. Elevator still a large task, but with that player coming down from Banana and the other ones isolating into open area, Nas is a big player to worry about. It is just a cluster of players for KrakenSeas roaming in and around the map. Can they find these kills before they suffer that big problem? Jacob seems to know, takes a good amount of HP off of Nas, forcing him to go down square where Sin is going to be awaiting. But Jacob is going to get isolated by Nas as he's just going to wide swing it off the double team with Recan. And now it's a big problem. A good refrag, but the time chalk is being ran out against these players, and there's still another man to clear.
Yeah, like Recan is not fully fell off of E2 Hall, but I mean they could read into this that he's not really, he's in elevator, and even if he drops down into elevator, I mean that kind of like leaves a pretty decent gap over by server. Eventually he does drop off, rejoins his teammate on site. Ooh, wow, that was kind of crazy. And now they're just gonna drop
go
here.
button. He goes for the go button. Zibwe falls after a whiff from Sin, but still he's managed to find triple, putting him up, getting instantly refragged out, and that plant's gonna go down. Sin canceled it. That player still had to reload, man. But he still has 4 Candelas to let loose here. Recan going to be full blind. Do you know he's prone? He doesn't know where he is. It's just going to be a game of ring around the rosy. 30 seconds left. The second Candela comes on in, and he's going to force him into the site. Now, Sin able to plant, but it seems like you're just running away from the inevitable here as you just need to put this plant down. Finally, the Candelas are going to halt Recan in his tracks, but still a large problem, and you're going to lose the one. Come on, you knew where he was. Missed him on the ramp ever so slightly, and you're gonna pay the price.
Oh, what would have been as well if you would have just gotten a plant down in server anyways. You have ACOG with the LMG. You could have played for a server post plan if you planted it next to the bomb chastity. You know, the garage angle can't really see that, by the way. The only angle that the garage angle covers within server is the default plant spot on the wall. So yeah, you had opportunities there, Fearson, to get the plant down, maybe even back up into servers, especially because Recon was loading. But I don't think he knew that. So he was just trying to see if he was maybe getting pushed. And it caused him to not only like readjust his plant spot to be a little bit more exposed, but also it just caused him to not even get the plant down in the first place. And Rican has had such a good series as well for KrakenSeas. He's been one of the main players to show up and find really good impact kills. Even though he hasn't had a ton of kills this game, it's impact kills that's really mattered for him when it comes to KrakenSeas.
That's just not a round we should be losing. Let's be honest.
No, yeah.
A game of Ring Around the Rosie on a ramp, all you have to do is walk up, and there's not a single pre-placed drone in garage. That's an issue. We need to be able to break that down because KrakenSeas, they're able to make mistakes. A, this isn't their map. B, they're up a map. C, you're going home if you lose more than the ideal amount of rounds here because they'll be switching on to the preferred side of bank. It's going to be disastrous if you guys can't shut out the rounds that you so desperately need here. Architect showed us a glimpse of what we know from EKU on that spear entry. But when we saw him on that demos trying out a different role, it just didn't work out the same, and it didn't translate. KrakenSeas exploited that.
Yeah, so another top 4 roam as well from KrakenSeas. Well, it's a little bit heavier. I mean, I think they started Kente over by the janitor closet anyways. Naz was already on banana too, but I mean, if they read into this again, they could probably even get another early pick. That's a meaty C4. It doesn't do a lot of damage onto Monty, at least not fatally. Yeah, there's 2.
They threw 2 of them, one through the hatch and one through the door, and one of them blew up the other, which means he wasted the utility. Scar taking care of Architect is going to take care of that spear entry, so maybe the C4 isn't going to be such a big loss as what we thought it would have been if it stayed to a leveled man count. Now, another game of just Ring Around the Rose here as Jacob is looking for that roamer, but the other man is long gone. Naz is in server. He's completely gone with 90 seconds left. EKU are now forced to make a move a little bit faster, and that might either go in their favor or completely destroy their attack even further.
Yeah, this tells me that because they're going for this basement lurk, I mean, it could tell you one of 2 things: the fact that they might just be going for a square exec, or they're going for open exec, because I mean, you could just lurk up main stairs and then try and kill the player on the behind the desk. Yeah, like just like that could like stop the hatch drop, and that's usually where a smoke plays or a nitrocell plays.
Now, Nas trying to revenge or get that refrag onto his teammate here, but with the players building up that pressure from that blue hatch, the Twitch has to go up square stairs so that Cross isn't going to be the reason she'll fall. But Nas, even if he falls here, this position allows him to fight out and waste so many precious seconds off of EKU's watch here. As it's continuing to run down, they're actually going to reestablish the man advantage after suffering first blood here. With 30 seconds left, it starts to become a problem because you're just losing players one by one. The third player that looks to take a gunfight on the basement is going to lose his life yet again. A 4v2, the Toxic Babe's completely depleted, and the Azami has no utility to be able to hide behind. No impacts, nothing, which means nobody is going to disrupt EKU unless they can get up all in their faces with their weapons and isolate. Scar going to rise to that task, can't finish off that. Monty hops up on that bench, but Scar gets a finishing kill with that barbed wire. Sibui, it's become a lot more realistic, but the coach steps up to the task. 1 and 2 to shut out the remaining 2 defenders, and EKU get themselves back on the board.
And honestly, like, you know, there is an argument to be made that KrakenSeas could have won that round. Time was getting super low. The Azami was still up, and Staff and EKU, they eventually cleared all of the Kiba barriers, but it wasted their time so much they couldn't even really get past the smoke grenades that were deployed on the Staff double doors, and instead they had to jump in through the open breach once they destroyed that extra zombie barrier, and they tried to plant in an off plant spot, or at least in a safe enough plant spot. And the reason why I say there's an argument to be made was because the Azami was waiting for either the printer window jump in by playing prone on the staff or on next to the staff counter, but also they're in a really good position where they could have killed the
Attackers need to
Monty.
locate
If it's
and defuse
anybody
as many
else
bombs
other
as
than the
they
Monty,
can.
like say if it's a Blackbeard or like, I mean, if it's not any shield, to be honest, then there is a chance that KrakenSeas win that round because they wasted so much of EKU's time.
Asami just got on that desk and just said, we're going to spray. Almost found that next Monty. If she denied that plan, it would have been essential to the round's integrity. And I feel like the all chat was the funniest part. Piss missile from Coach is the funniest piece of that round. Just the cherry on top as EKU reclaim the lead here. All they have to do is just continue to replicate what they've been able to do so far. But the small inconsistencies that we've been seeing with their attack has been coming back to bite them and eventually force some round losses. So far, it's only lost them a round, but it's caused them some casualties as well. If they can come back from this and be able to solidify it here on this site, I feel like a 3-1 and eventually a 4-2 split becomes a lot more realistic.
Yeah, it's been a much better early showing as well from EKU compared to Chalet. I don't think that could be emphasized enough. I mean, they started off the map 5-1 down, quite literally. So, yeah, it's just a little bit of a better showing. I think they've just been able to tap into the teamwork a lot better in this map compared to what we saw on Chalet. And we'll see how their defenses work because the main issue started with their defenses when they were like playing Roam. And they were just like super duper isolated around the map. So we'll see how that shapes up when they switch sides. Yeah, that's a pretty decent Denari that can slow down. That's a really good, you know, Denari's like not even underrated, but like kind of is, especially against like shield play, which we've seen EKU break out a lot. And also it's very hard to burn his lasers.
And he also threw it in, not the middle of the round, but closer to the middle of the round, so the lasers didn't activate until the droning phase was over, until the attackers were done their first droning phase. Now, one shock drone being burned as a result of those Denaris, and they will reactivate after a couple of seconds here. But in the meantime, the attackers will establish that top square control, and with the cross being watched from the windows onto the site here, and I'm only going to imagine that Cali is watching from the main side as well. A three-way cross being held onto the site here. Any mistake being made by the KrakenSeas player is going to be sniffed out instantly.
But at the moment, like EKU really, apart from the map control that's been given to them by KrakenSeas, there's really not a lot that they've been able to do here. They haven't really contested into stock all that much. It looks like they've actually dealt with the Denari laser. So they could contest stock, they could contest curved hall now too, and they killed a win condition. That's one of the nitro cells down below gone.
Beautiful way to be able to just lurk in below. That is what Architect is known for. You can't let that man go silent, otherwise you will never see it coming. Now Sin on the Batman Repel, looking for a kill of his own, but by using the lances to just blow up the castle barricades, you're able to just add on pressure where KrakenSeas are just going to have to be more aware. But a refrag onto Lomo or revenge kill later on into the round is going to force a mistake. It'll just snowball as Scar finds Michael, Sibui on his Sin, and Kente doubles down. It is just a flurry of kills, all of it in KrakenSeas' way. Everybody has been massacred and the EKU attack has just been toppled.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of just said that, like, they had really no real control inside of that round because of the smoke grenades and time. Yet again for EKU, they're redirected to not taking curved control, to not contesting the janitor player cleanly. Because, yeah, you can contest them from top square through that, through the left side or the right side wall from front desk, but you'll also have a crossfire with the front desk player. And even though they don't have an ACOG anymore, it's the castle. You still have a good crossfire on the main breach for between the janitor player and the front desk player. And so EKU, they're kind of forced into a late round decision where it's just so uncomfortable for them, and they're just not necessarily ready for the gunfights that KrakenSeas threw at them in the late round.
I wouldn't be totally surprised if this ended out in a 4-2 split in the favor of EKU, because yeah, they're showing a lot more flaws as of recent, but they've done enough where they've set themselves up for a successful ending attacking half here, especially on this site. Even on the individual win cons that they've been losing, it's been a little bit bad, let's say. I don't want to be too harsh. It hasn't been the greatest. after that Ying round where that man was just prone in the garage and able to get up and isolate the one. But still, EKU has picked this map for a reason. They are good at isolating their ones. They are good at finding map control. And we've seen what the individual players can do when it comes to finding the roamers and isolating them. They're very good at that. And with this time continuously running against them, I feel like they just overheat once they see they lose that first body, because they realize they need to be able to come back, even it out, or just completely force that snowball effect that sometimes just isn't going to work out in their favor.
I will say though, for EKU, they've been able to kind of punish this roam. But I mean, it looks like now KrakenSeas are doing this in numbers, and they're a lot closer together, so there's better refrag potential. I say that, and Naz is just kind of lurking in through lobby against Deimos. That's not very cash money.
It's not very cash money.
No, it isn't.
Cheers.
Sorry.
I don't know. I love the little one-liners. They're always hilarious to me. I'm not going to lie. Now, with the death mark active on one player, it's going to completely overshadow the two players that are just lurking in and around archives and elevators. Now, Nas is stuck in this corner. His teammates aren't. But it might be a little bit of a problem when there's a double reinforcement on that archives wall, isolating that player into elevators, even if you have the assistance of that man on marble. Rekan opening it up by taking care of Sin is going to relieve some pressure off of that double, and Kinte making matters even worse by taking care of Michael. It looks like EKU just can't handle that snowball effect from KrakenSeas. Finally, their shield operator will get that refrag, but after what? You've lost two crucial operators to get those hatches, but luckily for you, the elevator hatch has already been prepped, but KrakenSeas have gotten what they can and have evacuated the area.
I'm very happy that Nash dropped when he did, because he was being Deimos tracked and he was being pushed by a shield. And even if he wasn't being pushed by a shield, being Deimos tracked is enough to just be like, well, I've done my job. They've literally killed the Habana and the Ying here. So that's your win condition. That's good enough. Like, now where are EKU gonna execute? Because doing a server execute without the Ying, and also I guess without the hatch open, even though they have a can opener, they're gonna open up the lobby hatch instead. I think the Ying, her not being present just kind of ruins the server execute now, because they can't Ying Candela into red.
It's a little bit of a soccer term here, but Scar essentially has just created depth. By dropping back into garage, he can force everybody to look at him while the others are getting better positions. This is exactly what he did, but in this case, he wasn't the player that dies after getting a kill. He finds the first and actually gets the finishing kill as well. KrakenSeas taking the lead here, and I might have been right about that 4-2 split, just with the sides wrong, as KrakenSeas are really proving everybody wrong.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, when you look at this game, and if you've been watching Collegiate Siege, I've almost said CS. When you've been playing Collegiate, or when you've been watching Collegiate R6 for the past couple of months and for the past couple of years, and also maybe even like Tier 4 and Tier 3, EKU have been one of the stronger teams to watch over the whole course of the year. So the fact that they're kind of like losing to KrakenSeas, who have had early exits in OCS quals, who I think got eliminated from the opening quals for NACS as well, it's kind of surprising to see KrakenSeas have just this much pull and control over the game and have such a convincing game plan against EKU. And that's not to take anything away from them. They came into this game very prepared to like punish EKU for being totally isolated, for being super slow in their attacks too. And they've just been like pumping up smokes. They've been bringing like full roam games operators to help with their roam. So like this time in sports, a couple rounds ago it was Scopos. They brought out Echo, they brought out Smoke, they brought out Brava in order to punish traps, like stuff like that. They've been so well prepped against EKU, and it's very nice to see.
Interested to see how they're going to come back from that round loss. Now, it is only a one-round advantage for KrakenSeas, but when you think of the overall series, they're down a map, they're down on their current map, and they're starting to struggle to keep up with KrakenSeas, because even when they find that first pick, KrakenSeas are fighting back 10 times harder and finding 2 kills for every 1 frag they get. A little bit of a 1 step forward, 3 steps back type of situation, and if EKU can't find this round, Shaka, I might start leaning towards the it's too far gone part of this game.
Yeah, because we've also seen, like, I know Chalet is Chalet, but, you know, Bank more recently has been, like, pretty attacker-sided, and we saw some pretty good attacks from KrakenSeas on the attack of Chalet. So yeah, if it does get 4-2, you will probably have enough confidence to say that KrakenSeas could close this out in their attacks.
Now, Sin on that fuse, a little bit of an interesting pick, but might be, usually it's to oppose any Zoto canisters going down, but Tabaro's actually not on the board here, so quite interested to see where they'll use him out. I mean, on open area, yeah, there's a bunch of verticality, but still, is there enough utility to compromise your operator utility in your operator lineup? It looks like the answer is going to be no, because there's barely anybody parked out on the site here, and so we can just play a game around the Rosie. Now, by taking care of these jammers, you're able to open up that double side, but Chaka, there's 2 players playing in both elevators, and with the pulse lurking around, these players are going to have to go out of their way to get onto EKU's board, but still, EKU suffer the first loss yet again, and it's going to be a game of catch-up instead of trying to get your team to tie it up, as Jacob is going to take damage, but now everybody is forced to go into panic mode.
I'm gonna be totally honest as well. When we looked at the lineup for EKU, I haven't really been seeing a lot of like IQ to punish Valkyrie picks. There hasn't been any RAM as well for Archives to do a like traditional Archives and Teller take, where they'll just like it's so comfortable once you get Archives and Tellers to attack into either site, because realistically with Archives and Tellers, and especially square control, where can the defense realistically play? This is such a comfortable defense so far from KrakenSeas. They are not moved from this fuse.
19 seconds left, and Sin's just dropped the hatch and gone for it, opening up a gap, but Riken doubles down by finding that refrag. Some trigger discipline from Scar, but Riken goes big on 3. The plant is cancelled, and Scar will win the gunfight. Just 2 players to murder anybody who tried to touch that site. And somehow, in some way, EKU are on their own map, picking a deficit of 4-2.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to like, just not really having enough tools for the job. Like, they have like Fuse, but like they don't use it above Archives and Tellers. I thought they were going to use it above Archives and Tellers if, like you said, it's used to counter Tuberal. But if there's no Tuberal, I'm assuming that if they're doing an open area and staff attack, that they're gonna be using the Fuse above Archives and Tellers to make taking the control a lot easier for themselves. I don't think we've ever seen EKU a single attack round when they have attacked that site go for Archives and Tellers control. Like, yes, they've gone for like square control and they've like gone for basement, but like Archives and Tellers has not been touched from EKU, and so it makes playing the defense, if you can retain Archives and Tellers control, it makes it so much more comfortable, because you're basically on a precipice of sight, waiting for hatch drops, waiting for an execute from the attackers walking into staff double or through the staff through like the triple wall and staff. So now we go into KrakenSeas attack. I mean, their attacks look really solid on Chalet, like I said earlier. I'm not too sure how I feel about EKU's defense, because we saw them struggle a ton on Chalet defense.
Yeah, and for those of you just joining us, we're not on the first map. KrakenSeas have taken their own map, which was Chalet, 7-5, and they've now been able to dissect EKU's preferred map, 4-2 so far. Now, anything can happen, but no timeout being called from EKU. They're more confident on their defensive side, but with this attacker sided so far, Chaka, KrakenSeas now on that preferred side, it is going to be a little bit disastrous. And I can't really maintain my composure seeing the chat address Riken's actual name in game. Even Irish is in here. You think he's drinking a beer right now watching this?
He literally said he was gonna get a beer, yeah. So he's probably drinking one right now.
I didn't even have to know. Like, I just have to predict it. I'm usually 95% right. But as it stands, bringing the Tabaro as well is a change of pace, because we didn't see it too often from KrakenSeas. Doesn't really look like it really mattered, because they managed to win majority of the rounds either way. But now, EKU desperately need this first pick. Every single time we see them lose first blood, these guys get a snowball effect they can never come back from.
Yeah, do have 2 first floor players. I'm assuming that Jacob's going to be wasting time over by open areas so that like they can't really open a hatch to push them out. They've also reinforced the double wall inside of Tellers as well. I mean, just in case, like, because they did ban both hard breach. They're just depending on maybe KrakenSeas just wasting their own time either opening the wall or not having the wall open, making that area of the map very comfortable. Architect, though, because the wall is open, that creates a big cutoff into E2. He has to back off, and Jacob does too. His E2 player has gone. He's going to get crunched. If he stayed there, he was going to get crunched from E2 Hall and also from the eventual hatch drop too, and also from the fact that they have teller or archives control. So yeah, I mean, time was wasted on the roam. Don't get me wrong. There were drones shot. You only have 4 drones here for KrakenSeas. But yeah, no EKU early man advantage to speak of.
Yeah, just 1 minute left on the board here, and this is beautiful for EKU. My biggest fear, my biggest concern is KrakenSeas. When they turn for a play, when they look for an execute, they turn up everything they have. They use all of their utility. They flood into that site. And I fear that EKU won't be able to catch up based off of the previous rounds that we've seen from them, but it looks like the first pick is going to be imminent here. That shotgun, you can never oppose it. Nas actually almost managing to win that gunfight, but still nothing left. The send lasers are going to go down, but they're going to be deactivated by now, while Ying is going to begin to line up her candelas. They're looking for this execute. The Grim is going to be able to find a kill here as he's refragged out, making it even better, even more possible to be able to open up the site and try to put this plant down. They're close to entering the red time. There's no flanks to worry about, but that yokai drone, it's lurking, and it might become a problem that you're going to have to deal with. Scar, the first man to put his boots on the ground and try to get that plant down here. Kinte also drops, but is going to meet his maker quite fast. Sibui is going to take care of Architect. That plant's going to go down, whether he likes it or not. The C4 gets a kill and blows up the yokai in turn, but somehow EKU are going to manage to win it with Jacob just going big in the site.
And I'm actually kind of surprised that that went as bad as it did there for KrakenSeas. I did see one player drop down the hatch towards garage, and I'm kind of surprised that they did that, because like you're going for you have hatch control, you have top floor control, you've also killed the blue player. I feel like there's no reason to drop down the sprinkler hatch, or the red hatch as some people would call it, in order to try and contest the garage angle, because you're not planting default unless you want to sell the fact that you are planting default by trying to kill the garage player. But there's just so much info on site there from EKU. There's Echo with no IQ in play from KrakenSeas, and the only time that the Echo drones got dealt with was when they were first shot, but then also proceeded to, the second one being proceeded to blow up by a nitro cell. So it's a very good round from EKU. They put themselves one round away from tying the game up almost immediately on their defensive half.
EKU closing out that deficit. Just 1 round now, and KrakenSeas still, if I were them, the pressure's still not on yet. The pressure starts to amount if EKU can take consistent rounds back to back, which is what they did on Chalet when they were given the ability and the space to do so. But as of now, KrakenSeas still have this team in a chokehold, because with the pressure they've been applying, even on that previous round, there was 1 kill that stood in between that plant going down and EKU winning that round. And somehow, in some way, the only cross not being held was that vault over between the entryway outside of gold and into the site. And with Jacob being able to kill those 2 players, he won his team the round. But still, can't be relying on individual clutch factors to win out rounds here, as that deficit still needs to be closed, and EKU need to take the lead if they want to go to that 3rd map.
We've seen another top 4 take to here from KrakenSeas. I mean, not another, but like the fact that it's another top 4 take without any hard breach. Yes, Ace and Habana are banned, but there's like no thermite to speak of neither, which is, I guess, totally fine if you just want to enter in from the left side of the wall. So if they're gonna do a top square take, they have to deal with this janitor player, because they have no hard breach to speak of. So that's kind of like my only worry. But like doing a standard square take by getting janitor control, by getting stock control, is pretty stock standard. Pardon the pun, but like it's something that's pretty simple to do.
You're so formal sometimes. Pardon the pun, dude. Just say it. Now, Nuz being able to walk in, that is. What was the previous one when they walked into ATMs? What was it called? Not so cash money. That's the one. I'm gonna start stealing that. The punishment of not having the head holes on the right side of square is allowing anybody to just lurk in through that double. Now, it does work as a double-edged sword, because it also opens up more players into that site. So EKU are going to decide to just completely forfeit those head holes. But with Sibwe, seeing his teammates walking in through square, by sending in the flame bolts into janitors, they're able to start to grasp that pressure onto Janny, and by forcing Jacob into a corner, he can assist his teammates while they all are getting picked apart one by one. Architect fighting his way out, taking care of Kinte, but it doesn't matter because Nas gets 2. Lomo traded out as he'll take care of Nas, but now he's top square, and that plant's going to go down whether he likes it or not. There's no win cons, there is no C4s, and Yokais are just nowhere to be found. Where is Echo? Michael, where are your Yokais? Get on those drones. As Scar is going to continue to be a problem. Lomo is going to rise to the task and isolate the one player, but still, somehow, EKU have gotten themselves back into this game. It's round by round. They're clawing their way against all of that utility from KrakenSeas, and they'll manage to win it yet again. 2 back-to-back, and can they bring this back to send this to the 3rd?
Yeah, and like the thing is that EKU did have extra win conditions. I'm pretty sure because the IQ wasn't played there for KrakenSeas that both Echo drones were shot out once the execute was trying to come in for KrakenSeas. But I think the biggest issue there was the fact that there was like that extra win condition, that flank coming in from Lomo. Not only did he have a nitro cell, but he also was just flanking in from square, and KrakenSeas never really dealt with the flank. Both times that Lomo got both of his kills on that square flank, backs were turned. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody had a flank drone the first time. And the second time, nobody's paying attention. So, yeah, good round from Lomo in particular. Just catching backs while they're turned and just taking full advantage of the fact that KrakenSeas were just ignoring him or trying to ignore him as they went for that execute.
All up to level now, and now it's anyone's game. EKU are clawing their way back into this, and looks like they've really heard what the casters are saying and they've applied it to their game, because ever since we started talking about how they're not prioritizing their win cons enough, they've been using their 1v1 ability to place their win conditions in a better spot. Now, in that round, the C4s weren't present and the Yokais weren't either, so what they did is they relied on their skill to isolate their ones to be able to gather the intel from the remaining Valkyrie cameras that were up in the site to be able to just swing and win the gunfights eventually. That is the versatility and that's the resiliency we need to see from EKU if we want to see that 3rd map here, but still, a large task ahead of them, and all they have to do is break this deadlock for the better, and we might see that 3rd map finally come to life, Chaka.
Especially if, like, you see some weird mid to late round decisions as well from KrakenSeas. Too, you know, EKU have been very good at like punishing the weird decisions as well. So, yeah, we'll see what happens for the rest of Bank. Of course, this is EKU's map pick. We already saw KrakenSeas take their own map pick. It could be the same case here for EKU, and if that's the case, then we could have a really competitive map 3 of Cafe, which is the decider if we're able to get there, if KrakenSeas cannot close out Bank, since they started off with the 4-2 half. Looks like they are going to be starting off with a take over by squares, or over by the square area, with alert up ATMs from Nash, just to apply a little bit of extra front side of pressure. At the moment, this attack has been going by very slowly from KrakenSeas.
Keep in mind as well that KrakenSeas, with that 4-2 split, have been playing a lot more conservative. We haven't seen that aggression that we saw in the earlier stages of this game and on that Chalet map. But by being able to find that first pick, they'll make me kind of just eat my words here, as they're actually in the middle of sight, Chaka. Wow, talk about a contradictory statement as that plant is going down and Jacob is left to try to isolate. He knows where it's going down. No one's actually watching the cross because Architect has taken care of that man, but I didn't see Sibwe completely prone behind that kitchen bar. Sin left to isolate with that MK2. We'll fry that man with that secondary. But after all of the hard work done to try and force that deadlock and eventually take that lead, you guys are just going to fall to a rush. A 1v3, a shield up in your face, and more than enough intel to give away your location. EKU are now starting to look down the barrel of another deficit yet again.
And I mean, Sin is being tracked by Grim Bees. He's being put. Oh, well, okay, that's odd. I mean, he should die here. Sib?
Hello? There we go.
Oh my god.
Just to give him a ring around the rosy for you.
No. Again, I mean, we kind of complimented KrakenSeas before, or I have at least. In terms of like gap spotting, I mean that wasn't really like it was a huge gap. Don't get me wrong, because like they just walked in the staff from square. Like I'm kind of shocked that they were able to do that. I was like kind of complaining about how they were going by really really slowly. It didn't seem like they got a lot of map control, but I mean, they got the most important of them all. They got square control and then they got staff control, and they did some pulling as well from lobby side with Naz going on that lurk and finding the opening pick as well for KrakenSeas. I mean, that provided enough pull for them to get into square and into staff, it seemed. So,
And yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what was more concerning, the fact that we were just playing Ring Around the Rosie and we TK'd our shield up, and then we like doubled down by trying to one-tap him. Interesting, but they still got that round, and you put it perfectly. KrakenSeas and their ability to just be a resilient team that gets themselves on the board is amazing. They lose a couple of rounds to EKU, and it's like nothing ever happened because they'll hit 10 times harder, and they will force the mistakes out of them yet again. And now being 1 round shy off of that match point, that deadlock does not matter anymore, because EKU have lost that momentum that they were trying to build up to, and now being on the least preferred side of Bank, they need to do a lot to be able to come back and try to force a cafe.
Yeah, and kind of an interesting point that I want to make is like, I know they brought like Rooney and Legion that last round, so those are pretty decent like intel operators. I don't know. I think I'll be totally honest as well. Like, I think eventually they're probably gonna ban this Brava, because I'll be totally honest. Like, what's a really good way to stop gaps from being exploited? You bring Fenrir, you bring Malusi. Every time they brought Malusi and Brava's been on the board, it's been countered by KrakenSeas. So maybe when we get to that opportunity for a third ban for both teams, we'll see the Brava go away, and we'll potentially see other trap ops as well that can like kind of disrupt gaps being taken from KrakenSeas. Because in a way, the one thing that EKU have tried to use in order to cover their gaps is they've tried to bring Legion, they've tried to bring Rooney. There was an Echo a couple rounds just for late round win conditions. We've seen Valkyrie too, but like, you know, seeing them on the camera versus slowing them down and limiting their vision is like kind of way different when it comes to covering your gaps.
Now, as we head right back into the game, if you guys missed the third and final bans of this map, Echo and Grim will be the ones taken care of. Grim has been an essential operator for KrakenSeas, not even just the operator, the man who's been on him as well, whether it's Scar, Sibwe, or just whoever is on him, has been able to find multiple kills throughout multiple rounds, and I feel like that has really been a large win con for them. Taking care of Echo. We've seen not too many yokai drones hop in, but it did give KrakenSeas a scare when they were trying to put that plant down on that basement site, given they did eventually lose the round due to Jacob's courageous ability to fly through that rotate and kill everybody who resided on that chassis. Still, KrakenSeas know what they want to do here, and by breaking that deadlock for the better, they've taken care of EKU's momentum, and hopefully they can win it right here and right now to force that match point.
I'm surprised that with the Warden ban, we have now just seen the first glass pick in this game, or in this attacking half from KrakenSeas. They have a BP here, so they should be able to see this.
Ability, though.
Oh, right, yeah. So you can't see him. Oopsies. They
I
don't
don't
know
think he
he's
was
here.
using the ability, yeah, because he was just hiding behind the
He was
truck.
just hiding behind. He was, yeah.
And if he activates it now, Blackbeard is just doing that, hey, look at me, while everybody else is just gonna rush. It takes all of the site pressure as well. So much real estate being established, taking care of one of the most crucial operators for this place. Oh no, EKU have absolutely nothing. The plant's going down, whether they like it or not. Michael gets taken care of, but Lomo fully finished off. A 1v4, unless you can res your teammate, but that seems like the least of your worries right now. He'll be finished off, so that's out of the question too. A post-plant scenario, Architect is genuinely moving further away from the case as we speak. The hatch is not open, and there's absolutely nothing he can do except for run like a headless chicken at all 4 of these players to try to reel it back in. He'll drop, but they know exactly where he's coming from, and Nas shuts him out. They're now on that match point. They lost 2 rounds on the fire back with 2 of their own. KrakenSeas now on that series point and that match point.
And it just feels like there's so many holes in the defense. Garage left completely unchecked for the majority of that rounds. The server ISO as well from KrakenSeas. And like the pull effect as well from the Blackbeard over by CCTV. You highlighted it. And it kind of frees up the opportunity for that garage flank to be super duper effective. I don't think in the last basement round that we've seen KrakenSeas attack that they went for garage pressure. And that's good conditioning for them to be able to exploit it in that next basement round with the Nook in play this time. So, wow, I just can't believe it. I'm gonna be totally honest. I actually don't know where the Smoke was playing. Was Smoke playing in red instead of blue stairs that round?
I have no idea. All I know is he got a nice scar to his face. That man stood no chance with that flood. And
So
I feel like I think he was
been
playing
red
inside. Yeah, no, I literally
Yeah.
think he was playing in the hallway of site that connects both A and B and just couldn't find anything as he was exiting out of gold. He just got shot in the face.
5 seconds to
So there was
insertion.
like no server hold then. So that was like a
Nope.
server ISO. I mean that that kind of tells you as well why you should be trying to hold server in the middle of the round or at the beginning of the round rather. It's a good server and blue stairs are good time waste positions for very good reasons, and that should showcase to you as to why if you let them execute server and they get that like server control and they open up CC wall and they're able to walk in with the Blackbeard the way that they did and just get like garage control at the same time, and you waste no time. That gives them so much time to just figure out how they want their ideal round to end. So, yeah.
Nas and Sibwe just flying in. They've taken a good amount of real estate here, and with Architect above and the other man just sitting in archives here, they might be able to find 2 kills if they play this right. But we know how Architect gets. He finds a gap and really tries to hit it and doesn't leave until he finds that kill. But that Logi Bomb forces him to just get out of there. There's no other opportunities that are meant for you as you're being actively heard by the drones and you are being actively hunted by all of these attackers while Lomo tries to help you out. We know how KrakenSeas loves to play buddy-buddy, and they continue to shoulder check each other as they walk in throughout the building.
Yeah, this roam eventually is gonna have to like kill off. Like you mentioned, there's really no opportunity to be solo neither, just because the Doka B's on the board and you have a lobby lurk. This is gonna make it really hard for Architect to just like play off the map. Really, I mean, okay, this is
The
really bad
Blitz?
timing. Oh, he didn't go down the stairs. Yeah, wait, what? The Blitz?
The
Yeah,
Blitz!
gold.
He's in gold. Where did he come in from? They just dropped the vault hatch and called it a day. Reken doubles down. Sibwe's down there as well. Michael, he is going to fall. There is nothing on the board for EKU. Finally, Architect is going to come back to help out Sin here. But as you seek refuge on bottom marble, you're going to panic and throw a Pokeball at yourself. Your teammate's now full blinded. The plant isn't even going down. We're seeing them actively panic round in and round out. Architect winning his second one, but not before his teammate's taken out here. You need to be able to clutch if you want to even have a chance at going to that third map. Such a tall order, but nothing is going to go your way. And in 2 rounds, EKU have been defeated.
And that is the second map as well. The whole season, EKU have not dropped a map against anyone, whether it be the regular season or in the first round of playoffs. And just now tonight, that's been broken to send them out of M1 Grands. One of the favorites to possibly win the tournament has just been knocked out by a team that has already dropped maps within the main season too. So this was a really good showing from KrakenSeas. It demands respect of them as well for the rest of M1 Grand's playoffs. And I'm gonna be totally honest. Yes, it didn't really look like EKU were themselves, but I also think that KrakenSeas played a really good game of Siege, especially on their attacking halves. On both Chalet and Bank, exploiting gaps, just punishing EKU for being so isolated on their roam. And it was a good game throughout the whole best of 3 in 2 maps that KrakenSeas played.
I'm sorry, I'm still fixated that Scar was actually the one who found first blood. I think he was on 14 or 15 kills, but we're talking about everything happening on this side of the map. And on this side of the map, they're fully down vault flying in through gold. It's crazy to me. It was 2 complete different games of Siege being played out here. In EKU, they didn't disappoint, but they crumbled under the pressure, under the fingers of KrakenSeas. they were very good at applying that pressure. For a team that we haven't had the pleasure of casting before, they really exceeded my expectations. I don't know about you, but they really stood up to their tasks. I mean, winning the first quarterfinal game, being able to advance on to play whoever they get to play against, they have done their job, and now they just need to continue to do what they're doing to be able to just continue to tear it up within the M1 Grands. And I think I actually have the bracket, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go. So this was the first quarterfinal, which means they're going to play the winner between M1 White and Devious. Devious has Piff as their captain, if you guys know who that is. And anything that might surround him, we're not going to leak on here. But big news for that team coming soon. And on the other side of the bracket, they will be played after Thanksgiving because you Americans like to have a whole week off, which I wish sometimes I was American. But Daystar Rising versus Nightmare Nyx is TBD. And you'll have Skyline GG, formerly known as Glisten, if I'm not mistaken, and Syntex Esports. And that will be the other side of the semifinals. So all in all, it's been a great first quarterfinal. We will definitely be back to be able to cover the rest of the games, Chaka, but it has been a crazy series so far. And before we head on out for the night, any final thoughts?
I'm excited to see the end of that Daystar Rising versus TBD game. Isn't
me too.
TBD's Nyx's team?
Yeah, Nightmare Nyx.
Yeah, okay. So that would be a really good game to see the end result of.
I agree.
And I'm gonna put it that way, but like, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see that. And then also, because I think Skyline GG as well is either way. I think the whole bracket looks very interesting, especially that Daystar Rising versus TBD game. And I can't wait to see how the rest of M1 Grand Season 1 shapes out.
Yeah, I agree. And for those of you just joining us, I'm Sino, that's Chaka. We bring to you most of our games, and we're very happy to do so. We cover literally everything, so make sure to keep tuned, whether it's on my Twitter or on this channel, or even check out the Discord. If you just do !socials, you'll find all of them. Thank you so much for joining us all today. A big thank you to Rennie for observing for us on this lovely, what is it, Wednesday night? Yeah. Have a great rest of your night. Say bye to, what is it, this way? My snowman back there who is very out of the frame. Have a great rest of the night, and we'll see you guys later.